Hey guys, I'm AnApplesLegend, and today I'm going to be talking, probably from the title you realized, about bettering your YouTube channel. And you're probably thinking, who is this kid to be talking about that? Well, I'm probably the perfect kid, because with my channel being really small, extremely small, it is perfect because I make so many mistakes. I can pinpoint them and tell them to you so that maybe if you didn't realize what you were doing, you can fix them. And that will probably help, I imagine. I hope it will. And with that out of the way, let's jump right in. First thing you want to do is need to make sure that you have good quality. That is probably the most important thing in a video, is quality. Your video needs to be it needs to be I don't want to say HD. It doesn't need to be HD, but preferably non-choppy with at least 480. 480 is probably the minimum it can be for good quality. And your mic, you don't want your mic to be like seem like you got it from Walmart 2 days ago and it was one of those things you got out of the gumball machine, you can just put in like 50 cents to get out a random prize. You don't want it to sound like that. You want it to sound professional-ish, as professional as you can make it, and preferably some sort of program, Audacity, Audition, whichever one you want, doesn't really matter. And that brings me to my next topic, I guess, is background noise. If you notice, hopefully, there is no background noise in this video when you're talking through the microphone. So no fans, no dogs, no people, no doors slamming, no wind, no nothing. And that is important too. Now, if it's something small, like maybe something like a gentle fan that you can kind of hear, but it's not bad, that's not bad. But if it's a fan that's right over the mic, or right, like, plugged into the USB on your computer and you can hear it because it's blowing right on the mic, that doesn't sound too good in a video because people don't like that. Another thing which I do terrible on is saying I say way too much. I say it like 40, 50 times in a video. I should put a counter in one of them just to see. And that's one of the ways to fix that, is to write a list of things that you're going to talk about, so that as soon as you move on from one thing, you can go right to the next thing without pausing or saying Awkward pauses don't help either, but that's not as bad as And with going back to the quality, rendering is also very important, because this is going to be kind of hard to understand, but hopefully it makes sense. If you recorded your video, let's say you recorded with Fraps, Minecraft gameplay, if you record it in 720, let's say, at 30 frames per second, and then you go into Sony Vegas and you try and render it into 60 frames per second at 1080p, it's not going to work, because that's not the format that you recorded it in. You have to render it into the same format that you recorded it in, otherwise it's going to be choppy and it's not going to look very good. A very bad thing to have is in your videos is throat clearing. To sit there and start to clear your throat every time you need to. I mean, you can do that, but don't leave it in the video. Cut it out in some editing software or something, so that it's annoying to listen to, people clearing their throat. That's even worse than saying I believe. Another thing that's terrible to do is to have your video, I'm going kind of quick on this, I hope hope you're getting this down. No, I'm just kidding. Another thing that's terrible is to have your video, like the gameplay, being louder than your voice. So if you have the shooting and you can't hear what you're saying, that doesn't sound very good, because all you're hearing is the gameplay. And if you wanted to hear that, you could just go to a trailer of the game and hear it, or some of the preliminary gameplay and just hear it. Another thing is that when you make a video, if you're going to talk over it like this, whether it's a commentary, usually it happens with a commentary that isn't talking about the gameplay, it's only talking about a certain topic like this one. If you're not talking about the gameplay, this happens more. It's when you make your video and let's say the video's 10 minutes, and as you're going through your topic, you end at around 6 minutes, and then you have nothing else to say. Don't fill the time by saying things that nobody cares about. If you're sitting there and the audience can tell that you don't even care about it, it's going to get very boring because they're going to be sitting there like, what is he even talking about? Weren't we talking about cats? And now he's talking about the weather outside? I don't care about the weather outside. You're just trying to fill the time to finish the video. If you want to post your score at the end, your ratio, whatever, cut out the 4 minutes within the video. Death streaks, do that. Just cut it out somewhere if you want to get the final product in so that you're not sitting there rambling about nothing. I know that YouTube now, instead of having backgrounds, they have banners. And along with that, every now you can upload a custom thumbnail. And the custom thumbnail and the banner, you want them to look quality. You don't want them to look like you typed them up in Word and just pasted that in there. That doesn't look very good. And especially with thumbnails, because that's the first thing that you see when you click on a video is the thumbnail. And you want that to look good. You don't want it to look like somebody, again, did it in Word or Paint. That's the worst. But if you did it in Paint, as long as it looks decent, I guess you can do it wherever you want. Another thing is that when you're making a video, if you're talking about a certain topic, you're not talking about the gameplay. If you don't want to post gameplay behind it that doesn't look good. If you go on where your final score is 10 and 40, nobody wants to see that. Even though it's just background, it's not as important as the commentary that's actually being listened to. People still are going to be noticing what you're playing, and that's not going to look very good. You'd think that you could probably pull a decent gameplay, and if not, you could just, ask somebody, say, can I borrow your gameplay, give them credit, do all that, but you don't want to have gameplay where you're doing incredibly terrible behind what you're talking about, because then people are going to start noticing the terrible gameplay that's behind it and not as much listening to you. The last thing is the way you speak. I don't mean grammar, I was going to say spelling, that would make sense. I mean, like the style of, I don't want to say the style of your voice. Basically, you don't want to be monotone. You don't want to talk boring, because when you're monotone, you're boring, and people don't want to listen to you being monotone. That comes along with people trying to not express them. They don't want to, they're afraid to be open. They're afraid to be loud and talk about what they want to talk about with their heart, or whatever you want to call it. It makes it very boring. At the same time, you don't want to talk too fast, but you don't want to be monotone. It makes the video so boring and so awkward to listen to. And I think that it's way better to talk fast than to talk monotone. In my last video, I even said I wanted to stop talking monotone, and it was still a little bit monotone. So that's basically it, I guess, in a nutshell. I hope that this helped in any way, shape, or form, that it wasn't that bad, and that you at least maybe figured out something that you were doing wrong, that you said, I didn't even notice that. I didn't even notice what I was doing. And I guess that's it. So, I've been AnApplesLegend, and I'm out.